Welcome back, dear viewers. And now it's time for our daily press review, and we are delighted to be joined here in the studio with Mr. Amr Abdel Rahman, political analyst. Good morning.
Good morning to you and the dear viewers.
And we start off from اليوم السابع newspaper, and we read the following headline: President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi holds talks with his Portuguese counterpart. President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi on Monday held talks with the Portuguese counterpart Marcelo Rebelo de Sousa in the Portuguese presidential palace in Lisbon. The talks tackled boosting bilateral relations, combating terrorism, illegal immigration, as well as developments in the Middle East region. After the talks, the two leaders held a joint press conference in which President Sisi said that Egypt appreciates Portugal's attitudes towards the democratic transition process in Egypt. And joining us from Lisbon, the Portuguese capital, our correspondent Linda Abdel Latif. Good morning, Linda.
Good morning.
Linda, can you shed more light on the schedule of President Fattah al-Sisi today and the main highlights of his speech yesterday at the presidential palace?
Well, President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, after a couple of hours from now, will be holding meetings with a delegation of Portuguese businessmen at the place of his residence. And afterwards, he will be heading to the Portuguese Military Academy and will be received there by the Portuguese Minister of Defense, the Chief of Staff of the Portuguese Armed Forces, and the Commander of the Military Academy. Now, the Portuguese Minister of Defense will be delivering a speech, and President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi will also be delivering a speech in a conference on security and terrorism. Now, President al-Sisi will also head to the Portuguese, let's say, Parliament, where he will be having a joint meeting with the head of Parliament, and will head as well to a company that is specialized in the manufacture of air and military industries. Now, President Sisi's actually speech yesterday, he headed yesterday to the Ajuda Palace, where he was received by the Portuguese President Marcelo Rebelo de Sousa. For his part, the President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi thanked the Portuguese president, adding that the visit has given him the opportunity to get to know closely about the historical buildings in Lisbon, which is a proof of the rich cultural contribution of the people of Portugal throughout history and the important role played by Portugal as a bridge between nations and culture. Now, the president also congratulated President de Sousa for being elected president recently, and in light of that, the president said that he will be working on strengthening relations between both countries, adding that he appreciates the positions taken by Portugal towards the big political developments Egypt has witnessed in the past few years, and appreciated that Portugal has stood by the Egyptians in building its new civilized democratic nation, and the role played by Portugal in showing to its European partners the real image of the developments in Egypt, and the importance of emphasizing on supporting Egypt in the historical period, especially that the stability and security in the European continent, European countries, is connected with the stability and security in the Mediterranean region in general, especially that Portugal and Egypt connects them geographical proximity. Now, also, let me just tell you that this visit is a very historical one, because, first of all, it is the first Egyptian presidential visit to the country since 24 years. So you can imagine actually how this is a historical one and is expected to be a quantum leap, as President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi mentioned, in the bilateral relations between both countries. And also, this is the first state visit by a head of state to Portugal since Portuguese President Marcelo Rebelo de Sousa has took office. Now, also, both countries already have strong relations and have convergence of views on regional and international matters. We've seen that during the talks, during the talks held yesterday by President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, where the issues of illegal immigration, refugees, terrorism, and extremism topics that were highly tackled during the meeting between President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi and the different Portuguese officials that he has met yesterday. Now, also, we've seen how both countries are planning to coordinate in order to achieve stability and security in the region. You know that Egypt has been exerting a lot of efforts when it comes to fighting terrorism, and as the Portuguese officials said during their meetings, that stability and security in Egypt means stability and in the whole region. Now, as I mentioned, the geographical location also was one of the main issues that were tackled and emphasized on during the different meetings that took place, especially that Egypt is the gateway for the African continent, especially that Egypt is a trade hub with the Suez Canal being there in Egypt, and also within the launch of the Africa Free Trade Zone that has made Egypt a gateway for the other African countries. And also Egypt or Portugal actually, as have been mentioned several times, has a geographical and strategic location and makes it a gateway as well for the other European countries. Now, both countries indeed have cultural and civilizational interactions in light of their, as I've mentioned earlier, geographical proximity, but also the intersection of interests at several stages of history, especially that the Arab ruled Portugal since the 8th till the 13th century.
Okay, Linda Abdel Latif, our correspondent in Lisbon, Portugal, thank you for being with us. And back to you, Mr. Amr Abdel Rahman, political analyst. How do you see the timing and the significance of this visit?
We all see now this is a new window
yes.
for the Egyptian influence to expand all over Europe,
yes.
Right afterwards the greater steps we have achieved regionally and in the UN and too many countries all around the world.
Yes.
Now we are moving to another phase. We are moving now towards our own aspect and opposing it to the world. That has appeared when President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi has just claimed and demanded that we need to make a coalition, an international coalition against terrorism. He has chosen that call to be launched from the very country that is represents the conscience of Europe, the European conscience, one of the civilized and the all civilizations
yes.
in Europe, of course, meeting with another, an older and deeper civilization, that's the Egyptian, of course.
Yes. And moving to Al Akhbar newspaper, and we read the following headline: Portuguese President welcomes President Sisi in the Portuguese presidential palace. Portuguese President Marcelo Rebelo de Sousa on Monday thanked President Fattah Sisi for the Egyptian firm support for Antonio Guterres, the candidate of Portugal to the post of United Nations Secretary General, describing this support as important and friendly from the Egyptian side, which came at an important moment in the history of the world. During a joint press conference with President Sisi at the Portuguese Presidential Palace, the Portuguese President accepted President Sisi's invitation to visit Egypt, which he considered as a step to strengthen the friendly relations between the two countries and two peoples. So how do you see the Egyptian-Portuguese bilateral relations and Egypt's support for the nomination of the Portuguese official for a United Nations Secretary General position?
Well, this is a very smart move, and of course, a successful move
yes.
Diplomatically, and it was a very well chosen decision for supporting the Portuguese
yes.
Nomination for the UN.
Yes.
And of course, that shows how deeper the relationships important
yes.
between Cairo and Lisbon for decades before and maybe decades to come, God's willing. We know that we have mutual understanding and we have a common interest in the stability of the world that has shown in the common supporting in each other cases in the UN and whatsoever.
Yes. And moving to Al-Wafd, and we read the President Sisi holds talks with the Portuguese Prime Minister. President Fattah Sisi held a meeting on Monday with the Prime Minister of Portugal, Antonio Costa. During the meeting, President Sisi expressed this happiness to visit Lisbon and his appreciation to the warm welcome from the Portuguese side that reflects the depth of the bonds of friendship and historic links between the two countries. The President expressed Egypt's keenness to put forward its relations with EU countries, notably Portugal, taking into account the common interests linking the two sides, especially in the fight of challenges in the Middle East, which requires the strengthening of cooperation between the southern and northern countries of the Mediterranean. So now we can see that Egypt is Europe's gate to Africa. How can we benefit from Egypt's location?
Not only benefit, but also share common benefits for both sides. The warmth of the reception for the President Abdel Fattah Sisi in Portugal shows not only the deeper relations between the two countries and the two leaders, but also shows how we have achieved too many successful moves along the way, domestically and internationally. The world do not clap its hands for the success, people.
Yes.
That shows how success we are achieving. We are going on in our march towards too many things to be achieved, democratically, politically, as the foreign affair front, militarily, even making the new concept, uniting the concept against terrorism by all its kinds, all its groups, all its thinkings, all its thoughts, and lead the world's aspect around this very important spot.
And moving to Al-Yom Al-Saba newspaper, and we read President Sisi meets with the mayor of Lisbon. President Fattah al-Sisi visited on Monday Lisbon mayor, where he was received by Mayor of Lisbon, Fernando Medina. An official reception was held for the president, where national anthems of Egypt and Portugal were played. Members of the Lisbon City Council, Arab and foreign ambassadors, as well as public figures, attended a ceremony where they welcomed the president. During the ceremony, the mayor of Lisbon granted President Sisi the key, which is considered a welcome symbol in recognition of the historical relations between the two countries. In a brief speech during the ceremony, President Sisi said that his honor is a support to the friendship between Egypt and Portugal. El-Sisi noted that cultural communication between the two countries will contribute in strengthening economic and political ties. President El-Sisi said that he agreed with the President of Portugal to achieve a leap in relations in the coming period. So, how do you see historical relations between the two countries?
It's a very long way to go for such a relation between the people in each country, of course. We have both has our own influence to the other civilization, and we have so many things in common as thoughts, as tendencies, as the moods of our own people in Egypt and Portugal, that can give a very strong base to a better relation economically, of course, and diplomatically, of course, and politically, of course, and coordinating our own policies in the region and in Europe.
And still with Al-Yom Al-Saba newspaper, and we read Governor of Egypt's Central Bank heads to London. The Governor of the Central Bank of Egypt, Amr, left Cairo on Monday, heading to London in a 3-day visit. During the visit, Amr will participate in some financial activities and meet a number of senior bankers in several international banks. Earlier on Monday, Deputy Governor of the Central Bank of Egypt, Fayed, said that the Egyptian banks have attracted about $3 billion in foreign currencies since Egypt liberalized the pound's exchange rate. Fayed told the banking conference on behalf of the central bank governor that the pound's exchange rate liberalization had helped foreign currencies stream back into the banking system. So, sir, what is the significance of this visit by the central bank governor to London, and especially that it comes after the government's decision to liberalize the Egyptian pounds?
Liberalizing the price of our currency has its own success and successful echoes around the world by the testimonies and too many positive signs around the world economically. Now it's time to invest in this success in London, one of the great bases of money,
financial hub,
and finance all over the world. And I believe we can have a great investment there, liberalizing the price of our currency can be followed by other procedures and not just stopping there. We are now encouraging the production, the domestic production in Egypt. We need now to make more efforts to encourage the exporting to other countries, to make a very important balance that we need in our economical march.
And moving to Al Shuruk newspaper, and we read Japanese tourists begin their tours in Luxor. Head of Tourism Promotion Authority Hisham Al-Demiri stressed on Monday the importance of the Japanese tourism return to Egypt in general and to the city of Luxor in particular. He pointed out that the Japanese tourism is linked to classical and cultural tourism pattern. Earlier on Monday, tens of Japanese tourists began their tours in Luxor after they arrived on board a charter flight directly from Japan. The first plane in the second phase of a direct charter flight service between Egypt and Japan arrived on Luxor International Airport on Sunday evening. I think that this will give a great boost to the tourism sector. And do you expect the tourists to return to Egypt and tourism to be back to its normal level?
This is very well expected for the coming period of time. We believe that the German and the Russian, the Japanese and other countries are just coming back to Egypt to realize that we are one of the safest countries all over the world, despite what's going on around us in the region. But still, we are the most welcoming, the most warm, recepting tourists from all over the world. And of course we must meet this positive tendencies by being more ready to accept and to achieve more strong moves to make our tourism not just a project but a strategy for the future.
And moving to Al-Yom Al-Saba newspaper, and we read Russia provides evidence that Syrian terrorists used chemical weapons in Aleppo. Russia's defense ministry said on Monday that Russian experts have found evidence that terrorists have been using chemical weapons in their regular attacks on Aleppo. It added that UN's watchdog hasn't sent any specialists to the besieged city despite requests. Russian Defense Ministry spokesperson said in a statement that the evidence was found in Aleppo's 1070 neighborhood by Russian experts. He said that in the 1070 neighborhood in the southwestern suburbs of Aleppo, experts from the Russian Defense Ministry conducted 9 samples which confirmed that the terrorists had used chlorine and white phosphorus in their attacks. So I think this is a crime against humanity, and I think that the international community should take a stance against what's taking place in Aleppo. So what's your take on this?
All right. This is not the first crime to be committed by the Muslim Brotherhood groups, terrorist groups in Syria, and it shows that only Syria is fighting terrorism along with Egypt, of course. Only Syria and Egypt is truly fighting terrorism by all its kinds, all its levels. This is one of the crimes committed against not only the state or the army, the Arabic army, but also to civilians, to the people who should be living safe and sound in their homes. This is not the first crime. It's not going to be the last, and it's going to be sponsored again. This crime is going to be sponsored again by the UN and by other Western forces that still trying to show or try to make an illusion that there are a moderate opposition and other armed terroristic, while the truth is they are both the same terroristic groups, whether it's Muslim Brotherhood or El Nusra, which is the base, or Al Qaeda group, whatever organization is here is a terroristic group, and it must be fought until it's eliminated from the ground.
Yes. And moving to Al Wafd, and we read Egypt stock market gains 13.7 billion pounds on foreign purchases. Egypt stock market stronger note amid foreign buying appetite for blue chip stocks. The main index EGX30 hit the highest mark since May 2008 after adding 2.6% to close at 11,543.07 points. The small and medium cap index EGX70 rose 1.98% at 432.78 points. The broader index EGX100 increased 2.11% to 1,034.03 points, and the equal weighted index EGX50 was higher 2.63% to 1,804.83 points. So how do you see the performance of the stock market, especially that we can see that there is an increase in the stock markets after liberalization of the pound?
Liberating the prices has just opened the gates,
yes,
for a strong and one rhythm,
yes,
for progress in our economy. Within 2 months, I could say just within 2 months, we can find and see clearly,
yes,
that the Egyptian economy will just move on forward. And it will be, I don't know, too many claims,
yes,
critics that are just accusing that decision,
yes,
of failure or whatever. I believe, on the other hand, the whole world is testifying for us. It's a very successful decision, and it's going to show its very positive echoes,
yes,
at the very near and large future.
Okay, Mr. Amr Abdel Rahman, political analyst, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Now, the viewers will go for a short break, and we'll be back with the breakfast show, so stay tuned.